Welcome to the Spotlight Series. I'm your host, Scott Nerney. Tonight we have a fantastic businessman that has one hat on, but hats in so many rings. I'm excited to talk about this. Ed Brady from Dig In Dining. Thank you for coming on the Spotlight Series.
Scott, thanks for having me, sir. I appreciate the invitation, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Sure. So tell us, before we talk about the enterprise, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who's Ed?
Who's Ed? Man, that's such a ever-evolving question, right? We think we know what we want our path to be, but we learn every day, and we try to be the best version of ourselves. I would say right now, Ed Brady is on a pursuit of, like everyone else is, kind of, as we're coming out of the COVID pandemic, learning who I am and learning how I want to spend my time and how I want to continue to make a difference here in Rhode Island. You know, I was born and raised in Cranston my entire life. I grew up in that school system, went to Bryant University, played hockey at one point of my life, moved out to LA, learned about the film and television business after I graduated, and I studied film and television. And eventually that led to me being a nightclub promoter, which led to an investor asking me if I wanted to open up my own spot, which led to a portfolio of different restaurants and hospitality and entertainment. And in that time, I also got pretty frustrated at some stuff that I was seeing around us in government and public service. So I embarked on the challenge of becoming a city councilman. And I did that for a couple of years until it led to an opportunity reviving a 99-year-old theater, and the Ethics Commission told me I had to resign. So we did that. And now I'm just kind of taking it day by day, trying to grow these teams, trying to build teams, trying to be the best version of myself. I'm also a father. Recently had an 8-month-old child named Maverick. And thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I don't know, who is Ed Brady? I guess he's just a guy here from Rhode Island that loves Rhode Island, that's heavily ingrained in film, entertainment, hospitality, and community. And he loves people. He loves just talking to people, just engaging in conversations, being a lending ear when he can help, and puts forth his best foot forward every day, trying to learn every day. And I think it's ever evolving. So that's such an interesting question to start, because I'm not even sure, right? I don't know if any of us are. We just try to wake up and go, right?
All right. So we talked about the name of the business, Dig In Dining. It doesn't really, it lends itself to the restaurant side, but one of your key marquee positions is the Park Theater.
Sure.
So I remember the park long ago, and then it closed, and maybe opened, and then it closed.
Sure.
And then you brought it back from almost a wrecking ball.
Sure.
And you know, there's a lot. It's a fantastic place to see shows. There's not a bad seat in the house. The sound is phenomenal. It's how many people does it sit?
Over 1,016.
And you get big acts there.
Sure do. Yeah.
You know, there's places that I don't expect that kind of act to show up, and they do.
Yep.
It's a credit to your staying power and
I appreciate it.
Your connections to bring those in.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the Park Theater has, you know, we talked a little bit earlier on how I moved out to LA and I got to learn about film and television and arts and education. And being born and raised in Cranston, especially when I was on the council, I would look over at those auction signs at the park, and I knew what was the potential of what it would become if we didn't embark on the challenge of trying to save it. And it was very close, like you said, when we walked in that building. It was in rough shape, and we didn't want to see it become residential or anything other than a community theater. So we went all in on it, and we spent a lot of our time and all of our resources and funding to get those doors back open. And we have some great shows, like you said, but it wasn't without some turmoil in between. And you know, we had a flood. I
heard there was a little bit of water at one point.
Sure. That first week of September. You know, it took me to my knees. It took me to prayer when that flood happened, because to invest everything you got back into community and back into a building that is for the community, you know, it's not necessarily, I have many other business ventures, but me and my partner really understood the importance of that real estate and keeping it something where kids can dream. I met Jeff on a caddy bench at 13 years old, my investing partner, and we understood the importance of that theater and the work that had to go involved in bringing it back to life. So when we got to that point at the flood, when we didn't know, candidly, if we'd be able to find the resources, because it wasn't all covered by insurance. It does that money, even that money, what it is covered doesn't come in overnight. So you got to find solutions almost immediately
Right.
when you've already extended pretty much everything you have towards getting those doors open. So we had to reroute all of our fall shows, and many of the artists at the time were like, "Are you going to reopen?" And finding that resilience and surrounding yourself with like-minded, positive people, and watching the community rally to get those doors back open in just a short 6 weeks helped me continue to find the strength day in and day out to find solutions in any business. I think every business owner in any industry across the world right now is just trying to survive. It's very difficult to go on offense. We're not playing defense. We were playing defense for a while when a lot of things were happening and it was out of our control. Now we're kind of at a stance of neutrality here in this recession. And in this community theater, it doesn't continue on. It doesn't propel forward if it isn't for continued investment from others beyond myself and my partner. The community seems to have loved it. They've really been coming out for a lot of shows. We've done a lot of great programming now that we've reopened from the flood and reopening, where it's kind of kids, adults, doesn't matter your age, the programming is there so that everyone has the ability to enjoy this historic 99-year-old theater and move it forward. We have so many plans to build and grow the educational part of that theater in arts and music and education and film and television. Right now, people get to enjoy a lot of great shows coming this fall, and we're kind of on like a little July summer hiatus. It's the slowest,
which is okay.
Slowest month of the year. Good reset for the creative and reset for the mind. But very excited for the shows coming August, September, October, November, and people can check that out on theparkri.com. And in general, we're welcoming all sorts of rentals and any type of event that would bring joy to a community, that would put a smile on someone's face, that would drive inspiration from a creator.
So who's someone that you want but hasn't returned a call, or you'd like to have come in that maybe they see this video and they didn't even know that you wanted them?
It's a great question. So we've had some great success through our network of fellow Rhode Islanders who have risen to fame.
Sure.
Whether it be, Matt Frazier, who's came in and sold out a show in 48 hours, or Billy Gilman, who did a great Christmas production and will be coming back again this December. Now it's at a point of our evolution, of our growth, where we're hoping to, because of the success that we've shown through the tribute acts and people enjoying all different genres of music and the shows that we have produced, and we've got to a point where we've successfully produced 30, 40, 50 shows in a row. We're hoping that it expands to a larger network of talent throughout the country. And in 2024, we're already starting to get a lot of those callbacks. And a lot of the agents and management companies are agreeing to do a show in Cranston, Rhode Island versus larger markets like Boston or Foxwoods or whatever it may be. And some of that doesn't happen overnight, right? It is on building those relationships, building that trust. And
it's not like, we're in the Northeast. If we were in New York, New Jersey, those tractor trailers are coming through with the gear and the lighting, and they're coming up to Rhode Island. Unless they're stopping in Boston, and they're not going to do a show here and a show in Boston. We're kind of at the end of the road.
And the greatest part of learning Hollywood, New York, these entertainers from other states is once they see Rhode Island and they try our food and they get to experience retail and shopping and go to our pocket areas like Garden City and Chapel View and Newport and Providence, our capital city. There's so much beauty in Rhode Island. And I think at times us as Rhode Islanders take it for granted. And I get reminded that every single time an out-of-state person comes here and says, oh my God, Federal Hill food was incredible. Or you guys have Narragansett by the ocean or Newport by the ocean and I can enjoy this delicious calamari or lobster roll, whatever it may be. I would put our food up with arguably anywhere here throughout the country, and I think it's a great lure for tourism. So building those connections and showing them Rhode Island, in theory, as a businessman, should yield additional positive returns for them wanting to return. We have to sell them on why they should come to Rhode Island versus another market that's within 90 miles that might attract that act from past experiences, or they might know Boston, they might know Foxwoods, they might know these larger areas and say, okay, that's where I want to go. But I think we've been doing a pretty good job so far of making it beyond just the Park Theater and kind of just showcasing Rhode Island through that experience.
I think the state has been doing a lot of that. Like last summer we saw the Great American Race come to Rhode Island, and
Sure.
I talked to some of those folks, and like, we didn't know Rhode Island, we didn't know what's here. We took a day trip, what they call a day trip,
Yep.
down in Narragansett, while they were here for a few days, and they saw a lot of the
Sure.
city. Some mentioned your area, and
Sure.
I think selling the state is a huge win. And when you talk about the food, you've got some food enterprises as well. Let's talk a little bit about those.
Absolutely. Right now we have a brand that we're very blessed. We just celebrated 10 years. It's called the Thirsty Beaver Hometown Pub and Grub, and we have locations in Cranston, Smithfield, Westerly, Rentham, and we're about to open up our fifth location, our largest location. Very excited, North Kingston. So that brand is just kind of your everyday pub and grub, hometown, comfortable community bar where everyone feels comfortable. And you're having a bad day, come have a beer and be served by a recognizable face. You're having a bad day, we're going to cheer you up. It's all about service. It's all about, and we know pretty much 90% of the clientele that goes into these bars from the locals, right? So creating that same type of feel at different communities throughout the state that we love is the objective, is the goal. Not easy, right? We know rising costs of goods. Our North Kingston location has been delayed. We were hoping to open up, months and months ago, but I have to tell you, it's something that started as a sketch and just a dream from me and my partnership group, and now is getting to a point of it's a recognizable brand throughout the state of Rhode Island, and people know where it is, and they're excited for North Kingston. It adds that pressure of wanting to provide a quality product, a quality brand, quality food, great service, and be that kind of, beyond just food and drink, really ingrain ourselves in each of these individual communities to be somewhere that the local dance recital can come and raise money, or the local sports team can come do trivia for a cause. I mean, there's so many ways as a restaurant you can help others. And with COVID, we know events stopped, right? We drove
Sure.
people back home, and we're still kind of slowly getting those events back. Days of celebration, birthdays, anniversary parties, retirement parties, even, bereavements. Events are so important to the hospitality industry, and for such a long time we didn't have them, so we had to find additional ways to do takeout food and find additional streams of revenue to keep restaurants sustainable. We're also not naive to what's going on in the workforce of restaurants in general, which is it's tough to get people back into these hospitality jobs when they left to go do, whether it be delivery driving or whatever it may be, and they kind of found a new path for themselves. So
Right.
finding a way on a macro issue, a nationwide thing that I'd like to see improved is making people earlier in life fall back in love with cooking, getting it back into home ec, getting it back into schools, kind of addressing that problem of it's very difficult to find chefs right now across the country. And there's so many ways that we can improve upon that, but it starts early, right? Why does someone want to become a firefighter or a police officer or whatever it may be? Usually it's because of those early interactions with DARE officers or people in the classrooms that they
Correct.
go, I want to be a police officer.
Yeah,
I want
look
to be
up
a
to that
fireman.
person.
And I enjoyed learning about cooking, but I feel like it's been removed from educational processes, really not only here, but throughout the country. So how do we get back to getting people to fall back in love with cooking is something that's an objective of mine while trying to drive more events throughout the state of Rhode Island. And I'm fortunate enough to be part of a startup called Restaurant. It's the co-founder of that was a Bryant graduate like myself. And what that is doing is it's essentially like an open table platform or Airbnb platform where someone can go on restaurant.com, find all the different event spaces that are available in Rhode Island, not wait to get a call back, not 2-3 days go by, because a lot of us restaurants don't have time to, or don't have the resources to have someone always on the phone picking up the leads, getting back to someone effectively and efficiently. The goal for Restaurant is to bring back events to the restaurants that desperately need them, and obviously make it easier on the consumer to book a space for all these types of events and drive events back into
I love
restaurants.
that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it.
Hey, you mentioned working with the communities. I know you support some community programs. Want to talk about that for a moment?
Of course. For over a decade now, the first one that jumps to mind is the Rhode Island Dream Center, which is located at 330 Park Ave in Cranston. And they've been doing some amazing work. They took over a school about 8 or 9 years ago, if my memory serves me correctly. And it was a big embark for them, and they've done a great job building up education at that school, building up awareness, and they have an affiliate nonprofit at Praise Tabernacle called the Rhode Island Dream Center, and they go out every night and they feed the homeless. So I tell you all this because when I learned about the work that they were doing, I wanted to get involved. Our brands, our companies, we come and we'll do a summer barbecue every summer for the homeless, where we'll partner up with them and Mayor Organization for the Homeless, which also does great work, and we've been working with them for over a decade. They'll bring clothes, toiletries, they'll help with providing haircuts and other types of services to really change the situation, provide a little hope that day. If we can get their ear on ways that we can improve their life moving forward, great. And that food truck also at the Rhode Island Dream Center goes out nightly. So if there's food that we prepared and someone didn't pick it up, and it's not reused food or whatever it may be, or bakeries and there's bread that's going to go bad, then we'll make sure we get it in the hands of them and that food's actually being used and not being wasted and not being thrown out. So those are two of the nonprofits that we have a long-lasting impact with and have meant a lot to us. It's more like I said, it's more than just cooking food. It's more than just profits. It's how do we make a difference and monetize creation by making a difference. And that's kind of how I go into every entrepreneurial brand, anything that we want to build. Is there a community tie-in? Is this going to make a difference? Is this going to leave a lasting legacy of positive impact beyond profits? And speaking of community, those are two that come to mind that have really helped mold my soul on when I'm younger, because I didn't grow up with wealth. It was always like, I need to make money. That's going to make me happy. I need to make money. And man, those grounding days where we're actually spending time, volunteering our time constantly through the process, make you always realize how blessed you are just to have a roof over your head, just to have food, just to have clothing, just to have the basic essentials of what we need to create. And for me, I don't need much to create. I just want to continue to create while making all these creations sustainable. Obviously, like anyone else, I want to provide a better life for my family and my immediate friends, my teammates that are helping us grow these businesses. But can these businesses also grow lasting impacts on the communities around them? And there's so many nonprofits throughout the state around doing great work. Obviously, we know the Gloria Gemma Foundation, and I've done a lot with them over the years because my mom was a breast cancer survivor. Oh. And I saw the effects that has, like every other family across the world. We also started a nonprofit in Cranston called Cranston Cares, because we had a friend, a sergeant in the military, who passed from mental health, depression, struggles of life. And
sure.
Cranston Cares, essentially what that does is raises money every year and then kind of just trickles it back into special projects in the community. As a vet, as someone that always was giving turkeys around the holidays, we, like in his honor, giving 222 turkeys out every year, or raising thousands of toys for kids or families in need. I think constantly remembering how good you have it, even when you have it bad, is important.
Yes.
And it's funny that just hit me, because every time I've ever went to the darkest moments of my soul, the darkest moments of my life, you get out of it. The next day comes, and that's only because, especially as men, I think we struggle with being vulnerable and expressing our struggles or our trials or our tribulations. And every time we come out of those dark moments and dark days and achieve, because we let fear in or something didn't go how we had it according to plan, but that network of support system that we have around us gets us through it, anything is possible. Right? If you're around the right like-minded people, if you're around the right teammates.
I can tell you, my wife has a phrase, in fact, she has it on a tattoo. The only thing you have absolute control over is your attitude.
Amen.
And, going through life like that, thinking, it's horrible right now, we'll start fresh tomorrow. And it might not always be that first step could be huge.
Sure.
But you can make a difference, and you're doing that.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I understand that you've also worked with Hollywood Connections to bring film here in the past.
So, wow, that's a great question. So, Ann Muhall was a great influence of mine when I moved back from LA. That was roughly in 2008, and she has a company called LDI Casting, and at the time I was acting. And I was learning about sets when I was living in LA, and I felt the need that I had to move out there because there wasn't enough production here in Rhode Island or locally to work here in that field. And
sure.
When I studied film and television at Bryant my senior year, it wasn't a path I intended pursuing. You know, I knew I liked marketing. I knew I liked communication, but I took that class and I just fell in love with it. And I say all that because the magic of being on set, the magic for a 21, 22-year-old kid to go out and see how these movies were made was amazing. And then to now recently come off a project like Good Burger 2, which I was blessed to have the opportunity to be around day in and day out because I helped bring it here with the film commissioner, with a childhood friend named John Ryan Jr., with one of the best talents in the world, in my opinion, Kenan Thompson, and Kel, who was also incredible. I mean, there were days on set where they would work 14-hour days and be exhausted, right, from jumping up and down, retake, take 14, take 13, and they would still stay around and take pictures with kids for hours at a time after the production. And then watching a grip, or watching an AD, or watching a director, or watching whatever it may be, and all the teammates within that production, just like a restaurant, doing their parts to make a great product, and watching the excitement that it brings to a community. Yeah, I mean, I was in love with it when I went away to LA after college, and I'm in love with it now. So how can we make the steps through working with direct leadership like our great governor and others to continue to raise awareness on the jobs that it creates? How, if we continue to educate Rhode Islanders, there will be opportunity here as we continue to increase the tax credit and make it really impactful beyond one project at a time. You know, can we build a movie studio here? Can we be a hub for Hollywood East and you know, be a real player in that world? And I think the short answer is yes. When a lot of this talent came to Rhode Island, they loved the same things we talked about earlier in this discussion. They loved the food, they loved the scenery, they loved our capital city, and it kind of was almost reaffirming to me that my beliefs about the state that I love can be had by any, right? So yeah, I guess that was my major takeaway from this magical last 6 weeks we just recently wrapped on Monday, and I'm excited for the potential of what's to come thereafter. And I think it's a great film. I can't wait, whether it comes out in Thanksgiving or December, for Rhode Islanders to see it, enjoy it, and yeah, kind of just keep hopefully being a part of that growth of creating a little bit more magic here in our ocean state.
So as we look at the fall and wrap up a little bit, tell me what's got you most excited about shows coming to the park.
What's got me most excited about shows that are coming to the park is there's something for everybody. Literally, when I say that, like, someone might see a show and go, oh, I don't want to see that. And that's the whole purpose, right? We're all so uniquely different. We're all molded so differently. We all enjoy different types of music, different types of Broadway, different types of shows, different types of movies, whatever it may be. So working with different creators, different collaborators, different communicators, just to have a little fun and continue to make it sustainable and to continue to raise awareness and build those educational programs so that next summer we have all sorts of summer camps for kids to enjoy and learn and grow and be a major player in here in Rhode Island. And theater is not competitive, right? Arts and education are not competitive. Like, right. We need to be working as a collaborative, as a community, to be working with the other great venues like we have, like Theater by the Sea, like PPAC, like Trinity Rep, like all of these theaters, because the purpose of theater is to get out of your own head, to make a little creation, to enjoy all the things that I mentioned earlier in this convo, have a little fun, and then go back to the realities of life, right? But if even for an hour or two, we can get someone to sit down in a chair and just leave going, man, I had fun, it makes that next day that much more easy, right? It makes that next day that much more fun.
And they'll tell 1,000 people on Facebook how great the theater was, my seats were awesome, the sound was good, can't wait to go back. There'll be one or two people will be cranky, but the hundreds and hundreds will love it. And that's what it's about. I imagine if you're sitting there kind of behind the curtain a little bit, watching people smile and
that's it.
And glee when they leave.
That's the driving factor. Yeah, that's the purpose.
And one last thing I got to say is I looked at your homepage for Dig and Dining. There's some testimonials there, and all your employees talked about family. Family. This is a family, and I know it's not easy in some of those jobs. I know there's a struggle with pay from what they want, a struggle with what you can do, not raising prices to insane amounts to be able to pay people, working harder, and smarter at the same time. It's a testament to your long-term employees. they're treated well. And I believe some of your locations are hiring. If people are interested, you tell them how to reach out.
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me, one. Secondly, for all
Sure.
those nice words, because I think we're all our own worst critics, right? Like, we're all so hard on ourselves. So earlier in my life, I definitely struggled with taking kind words. And when you said family, it just hit me the right way, because that's exactly the culture you're trying to create in anything, right? When it's not work, when you can put a smile on your face, when you can have a little fun, when you hold teammates accountable, but everyone is doing their role effectively, because you're creating a culture that everyone can stand behind, and knows the mission, right? And the mission is not just, it's, let's have some fun, let's make some money, of course, but let's create a difference here. Let's create a difference in Rhode Island, a long-lasting difference that others want to get behind. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been easy. COVID put our entire industry amongst many other, and I don't want to, keep bringing it up, because you do want to move forward, but we're still dealing with the lasting effects of that nationwide. Every industry is.
Sure.
So, of course, we're always still hiring. We're always still recruiting. We're still trying to create the best culture possible, where there are those work outings outside of work, and reward systems, and we're rewarding people on their efforts and their work. And I would say building that family, which I'm hearing more and more often, and that is exactly how our teams feel, is everything. It's that driving factor that we spoke on earlier, where I thought it was money. It's those testimonials. It's those kids that you're training from 17 to 22 that end up becoming a police officer in Warwick, or they become, they go to their next step of their career, and they're calling you back for advice and giving you those kind words. That's the purpose, right? That's the hair raising on the arms, soulful drive that continue. Like, I've been asked, what's too much, Ed? When are you gonna stop? And I would hope to say to you here as we're sitting, nothing's ever too much, but I can only do it as I recruit and collaborate with other great people, other great teammates. So we're constantly hiring. You can go on our Dig In Dining website, or our Thirsty Beaver website, or any of our websites. You can email me directly if you want, and I'll read and forward it to the right direction. My email is ed@digindining.com. Additionally, you can follow me on Instagram, follow our brands, follow what I'm posting. If you like what you see, we'd love to kind of co-create, and I love mentoring. I also love learning. So there's not a day that goes by where I don't look at myself objectively, try to learn, try to grow, and as I continue to try to surround myself with the best people I can. So it's kind of where we're at.
Huge fan. Thank you so much for being on the wave.
Thank you for having me, sir. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.